Hello! In this video, we will look at a new feature in the Typhoon HIL toolchain called the Lookup Table Extraction tool, which lets you extract data from datasheet charts and graphs into useful file formats. This feature is accessible through Typhoon HIL Control Center, in the Additional Tools section. As you know, many of the features and components in our software are defined with properties that have nonlinear characteristics. Some of these components and features are nonlinear inductors, power loss calculation properties, forward voltage drop, just to name a few. In order to correctly parameterize these components and features, we need to enter multiple values which can define their nonlinear characteristics. Before 2021.4, importing this data required that you manually inspect datasheet graphs and estimate the data points by eyeballing or by using a third-party tool. With the Lookup Table Extraction tool, you can now automatically generate data points from graphs and charts directly within Typhoon HIL Control Center. Let's enter the Lookup Table Extraction tool. When we enter the Lookup Table Extraction tool, we see a blank screen on the left part of the tool, while on the right part we have multiple properties for parameterization of extraction tool and extracted data as well. Let's import an example graph in the tool so we can demonstrate how to extract data points. We can import graphs through the Upload Image property. Now that we've imported our graph, we can automatically extract the data. This can be done by the Auto Align Chart option. Now that we have clicked on Auto Align Chart, we simply need to type the number of lines present on the graph and the number of points we would like for each line. Since there are 3 lines, we will select 3 for the first option, and we will leave the number of points at 25. Now as you can see, the software has automatically marked each line with exactly 25 points. However, the axis setup is left for us to parameterize. On the right panel in the axis setup form, we can enter the properties of the axis from the graph we just imported. For the x-axis, let's set a minimum value of 0, a maximum of 200, and set the scale to linear. For the y-axis, the minimum value is 1, the maximum is 10,000, and we'll use a logarithmic scale. Let's enter these values and then apply them. Now we have generated data points for each line. If we notice that the Auto Align Chart didn't correctly place the points on the curve, we can manually make corrections by clicking the arrows in the top menu. By clicking them, we can adjust the points by 1 pixel or by 5 pixels. These points can be found in the first part of the left pane, where you can see what the appropriate y-axis value is for an entered x-axis value. Currently, we are presented with the data for line 0, but we can change to another line by selecting it in the line index selector. When we are satisfied with the data extracted, we can export it into either CSV, JSON, or Python list format. The last one is especially useful, as nonlinear component properties and features within Typhoon HIL software often expect Python lists. In some cases, the imported graph may have lines that are too thin, preventing us from automatically generating data from the graph. In that case, we should manually mark points on the graph. Let's demonstrate how to do this by importing another graph into the Lookup Table Extractor tool. First, let's manually adjust the axis lines so they reflect the real axis line in the graph. We can adjust the axis by expanding the red marks on its sense to the final points on the graph's axis. When we are done with adjusting the axis, we can enter the range of the axes in the axis setup form. For this particular graph, the x-axis starts from -50 and goes to 150, with a linear scale, while the y-axis goes from 0 to 4, also with a linear scale. Let's enter this data. Now that setup is complete, we can mark the points on the curve. We can put the point on the curve by clicking the Control key and the left mouse button simultaneously. If we make a mistake and we want to remove a point, we can do that by clicking the Alt key and the right mouse button. Now that we've completely marked the curve, we are ready to export the marked points to any of the data formats which we previously mentioned. For a full overview of available commands, go to the Help drop-down menu and select Help. There, you can see all the action buttons, shortcuts, and full explanation on how to use this feature. We hope this new feature will help you save time in configuring your model elements that require lookup tables to define its parameters. Thank you for watching.